Yeah, recording in progress. Got it. Yeah, it's always in the worst spot. Okay, so in this, I'll just say in this episode, in this session, we're going to be doing storyboard layouts because we're for this whole term we're trying to work towards doing a small comic, like maybe a page, or up to you how much you do. But so there's different ways you can lay out a page. I'm just going to draw some pages on here. You don't have to do this. You can if you want. But imagine these are your pages. Or if you even have some comics, have a look at them. I've got a ton of comics, comics. So there's lots of different ways you can set out your panels. So each little picture is called a panel. And you might have them just split into threes. So there might be 1, 2, 3, and then again 1, 2, 3. So they're very long panels. Or they could be so many different ways you could do it. It should be a small one and a long one. You could do a really big one. You could do a full page. So that's just one big picture. Or you could do a mixture of maybe 4 and then a long skinny one and then 3. Like that. It really depends on what story you're trying to tell and how much of a space you need to tell that story. You could even do some that are triangular. That's good if you've got like someone here yelling at someone and someone here yelling back at them. And then you could have ones that even sort of fade off, so they get smaller and smaller like that until they're just nothing, or a line. That one hard to see. And then you could even do some that are, they usually have a border around them. That's why I've got that big gap. Some that are like a semicircle over the top of a square, or even if you had a big one like that, you could have panels inside. So there's lots of different ways you can do your panels for a comic book or for a page. And then even have panels within panels. So it's how you lay out your panel, not just how you lay out your page. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. And I'll show you some tips on how to do perspective and layouts within the panels. So let's get started. Usually in a comic, they'll start with, or even if you're watching a TV show, they have an establishing shot. So sort of like, I'll just draw another one up here. They might have a big panel like that, and it's just a location. So maybe that's a forest, and you can see like a castle up here or something like that in the distance. Moon, no, setting the stage, sort of what time of, sorry, that's really far away. So you got forest, castle on a hill, moon, stars. So it's what time of day it is, where it is, when it is, that kind of thing. And then it could have another big one, which could be a close-up, say, of a tower in the castle, and words coming out of that tower, like your speech bubbles. So then you know that it's sort of a medieval place, and there's a castle, and then a close-up on the castle, and we're closing up into a room. And then it could be, someone yelling. And then this one could actually then show a bit more of that person yelling, and maybe they're trying to tell like the princess to get out of bed or something like that. So we've got the land, we've got a building, we've got a person, and then we've got a room. So we're telling a story by showing different elements. So let's look at this first one here. I'm going to draw that bigger. So we're going to have, you can draw this as well, a big rectangle. That's the panel 1 of this story. there's a thing you may have heard of before. It's called the rule of thirds. And what that is basically, I'll just come over here to show you again, is within the screen, and this could be a TV screen or an illustration, wherever you're looking, you divide it into three even sections that way, and also this way. So you should have 9 squares. Now, where these lines occur, or 4 lines occur, and these 4 intersections, those are your important areas. Those are the areas that you want to place all of your, all of the items and objects that you want to be important, and for the viewer to take knowledge of. So I'm just going to lightly and roughly divide this panel into 3. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's like that. Got a double line here because I messed up when I was doing it. Like that. So if I was going to draw the castle, I want it to be in this, on this line, because I want it to be over to this side, and I want it to be in one of these or both of those centers. So I'm just going to rough it in. There's sort of the mountain it's on, and I'll just draw a couple of sort of castle-y bits on there. Do some little holes in it for windows or light coming through. So these rule of thirds, the placement of them helps you balance out your images as well. So we're hitting that intersection, and we're hitting that intersection, and we're hitting that line. And so then we go back to this picture. We've got all these trees. That's what it is in the front there, all these little bushes and that. So we might do that along this line here. So we could do a bunch of sort of, you know, pine trees sticking up, just the tops of pine trees. It doesn't have to be exactly on that line. See, I've gone over and I've come under. Just as long as it's sort of in that area. And you could do something, you know, even bigger on the side to sort of frame it a bit more. See how that one's huge on the side? It's going to frame the picture. I'm just going to shade that in. Like that. So with the trees, we've hit that horizontal line, the bottom third. And let's see, I go back to my little thumbnail. These little sketches here are called thumbnails because they're meant to be small, like a thumbnail. That's my thumb. It's a lot bigger than my thumbnail. So I've got the moon and some stars to show that it's nighttime. So where would be a good place for the moon? I could put a huge full moon behind the castle to make it white behind the black of the castle. Or I could balance it out and put the moon over here as a crescent moon. It doesn't have to be a full moon. So that's going to be in that intersection. But it could work just as well behind there. Actually, that probably would look better. So you'd have this black sky everywhere. And then the castle silhouetted, because that's going to make the castle stand out. So that's going to draw your eye. There are 2 things that draws a viewer's eye to different elements of the drawing. And that one of them is a light source. So here we have the moon as a light source. So we're going to be looking at light areas because we're sort of inbred to go towards the light and keep away from the dark because you don't know what's in the dark areas. But the light is where it's safe because you can see everything. But the other thing that we're attracted to is eyes. So if you have any kind of creature, you always look for the eyes, even if they're, you know, something like this doesn't really have eyes. We've got these big white areas that we look at in the face. We sort of know what a face looks like, so we're always looking for those areas. And that's why a cutesy kind of character will have big eyes because we're attracted to eyes and we want to look at them. Even this guy, look how much his eyes stick out. Even though they're tiny, they stand out because they're dark against the light area, so they pop out. Here's another good example of, knocking things over, of black eyes against a white area. They pop out because of the light around and the dark on the inside. So yeah, you can put them in there, you can put them in there. So when it comes to, go back to our thumbnail, the next panel, a long one with a tower in it, which could be this tower here, we do the same thing. So let's draw that one. They don't have to be in the same place. You can just draw them wherever. They don't have to be in the same place as these ones. Draw them wherever. So again, we will divide that into thirds. Roughly. And we want to put a tower in, but we also want to have space for a speech bubble or a text box, which there could be in here, in this one as well. Like there's heaps of room here. There could be a little box saying, you know, medieval England, or it could be some speech bubbles pointing back to the castle. So, you know, that there's someone's talking in here. And then we zoom into the tower. In this one, zoom into the tower. We know that someone in the tower is talking, and then we see who is talking, and then we see who they're talking at. Okay, so with this one, with the tower, you could put the tower directly in the middle and forget about the rule of thirds. Because by putting something right in the middle, it demands attention. You'll see a lot of movie posters, they might have a person standing right in the middle and maybe some people around the bottom or heads along the top, but there's someone in the middle, and that always demands attention. We look at that first. But you could offset the tower so it's on this line. So I'm just going to put it in to the side, like either side of that. What am I saying? Either side of the third. And we want to have a window in there as well. So the window is probably good to be on this intersection. So I'll draw it a little bit lower and a little bit higher. Bring the tower up. Maybe put in the roof above it there. Do some stones around there. I'm not going to do heaps of detail. And some stones in the tower. And it could be, because the tower's all dark, this could all be shaded in and dark, but have the window white or a bright yellow if you're doing color. Because again, everything else is going to be dark because it's nighttime. That's going to draw our eye because it's the brightest area. And then in the space that we've got, that's where you can put some speech bubbles and things and point it into the window. So someone's talking. So a lot of people don't use the rule of thirds, but it can really help you lay out your drawings, especially if you're doing panels where people are talking. Even next time you're watching TV and there's two people talking, you watch, because you'll see that it'll go from a shot like this with one person talking and there's a big area and nothing there. And then they'll cut to the other person talking who'll be doing the exact same thing and talking like that. Because people want to get their faces on TV, they do it sometimes, but they don't often do it side on, because, you know, an actor wants their whole face seen. So you don't often see this. You'll see the whole face next to nothing. And then the other person, nothing next to the whole face. And I'll cut between those. Other times they'll do what they call is over the shoulder. So they'll have, like, as if the camera's looking over someone's shoulder, so that's the back of their head, and you're seeing the other person here. So it's moving the camera around the people slightly, sort of like this. So you wouldn't have two people talking to each other looking at the camera, they'd be looking at each other, but that's not showing their faces. So they'll have this person talking here. slightly turning their head, not side on, slightly like this, and that'll cut to someone talking. Oh, hang on, where is the camera? Like this. So it goes from that to that and back to that. And then the over the shoulder one could be like this, like in a Pokemon fight, where you have the back of your Pokemon up here and the Pokemon you're fighting, it's actually up there, but like that. They'll be talking like that, and then it'll cut to the other side. So you'll be seeing this person over the shoulder of this person, and this person's talking, blah, 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 blah. So the actors are still getting screen time, but they're still getting their full face in the camera. Okay, so the next one on our thumbnail is exactly that, someone talking. So we could draw that panel in. It's another rectangle. And I mean, it could even just be a very big close-up of just someone's mouth, and they could be yelling. So you could draw, teeth, some spit coming out, and even some lines like this, which you see a lot in manga and anime. A lot of these lines, and they're sort of lines of action, but they're also basically they're arrows pointing, saying, look at this thing here, because they're all pointing to the same thing. They're all pointing to the face. So even if you're not going to show the whole face, you can just show a bit of it like that. Okay. Sorry, I needed some water. I'm doing a lot of talking today. Okay, so our very last panel on the thumbnail, I'm going to lose my voice, I can hear it, is a bigger square. I've squashed mine up a bit, so I might actually turn the page over and draw on the back. So it's a bigger square. Sorry if I lose my voice. Bigger square like that. I probably shouldn't be drinking Coke. I should be drinking water to help my throat. And so in this one, it's going to have I'll try and get it close. It's going to have the person who's doing the yelling on the left, and then we'll do a bed and someone smaller on the right. So again, the first thing we do is divide it up into thirds. Oh my God, this isn't good. Divide it up into thirds. Like that. Sorry, it's a bit hard to see through. You can see all my other lines. So we might do person that's yelling on this line. We'll do their head in the intersection. Have I ever illustrated a book? I have actually, not a children's book. I've done a few textbooks and things for TAFE and like for drug use, so drug awareness and things like that. For the Red Cross, I've done books like that. I've done illustrations I've done comics. I've done my own comic, but I've also done comics for people who do plays and things like that. So I'm just doing a rough outline. Actually, I might do the mouth open there. Rough outline of someone's silhouette. Maybe it's the maid, or it could be the king or something yelling at the prince. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a prince. I'm just going to shade it in because I don't want to draw the whole thing. So there we've got the silhouette of someone, and they're standing on that intersection, and their face is in this point, that cross section. So the other person we want them to be in these sections as well. You don't want it to be flying up in the air. You want it to be low. So the other person might be sitting up. I imagine it's someone that's in bed, in my story anyway. Someone that's sitting up, and you want them on that line, in that intersection. but maybe we can draw the end of the bed sort of here. And the bed goes back and there's some big pillows behind them, and maybe the bed comes up. Or maybe they probably have one of those 4-poster beds like this with drapery and things hanging down. So you can use that to sort of frame the area as well. And then the ground's going to be a bit lower like that. So there's room up here for speech bubbles. There's room over here, speech bubbles, like that. So there we have the first 4 panels of the comic. I don't know what's going on, but we know that it's set somewhere in a forested area. It could be medieval time. There's a castle. It's nighttime. There's someone talking, people talking within the tower of a castle. Someone's yelling at someone in this conversation. And then someone's been woken up from their sleep because it's nighttime and they're in their bed and someone's talking to them. So maybe the castle's under attack and they're like, king, you have to wake up. There's armored men at the gates. We need to defend the castle. Or maybe it's a servant saying, you need to get up, and the person yelling could actually be the person in the bed. Maybe it's Dracula. Maybe this guy has big fangs. And he's like, how dare you wake me up? And he's like, but sire, it's nighttime. You need to go drink blood from people. Who knows? It's your story to tell. So that's a really quick way, and I'd like to actually see how you guys went. I know that you're probably just copying, but I might give you a little task of doing something on your own. Kai, that's cool. Is that the guy you drew before? I think I've seen that before. He's looking around and he sees something in the distance coming. Is it a car or something coming towards the building? It's something coming towards the building. Let's see. Vidya, that looks cool. Misha, that's really good too. Audrey, nice. Yeah. So these are other ways that you can tell your stories instead of just drawing one picture. Even though we did draw one picture, instead of just drawing one picture where you have your characters just standing in the one position. Where am I here? In your one position, and then someone else standing in that one position. Think of different ways that you can draw your locations. Like, I'm not very good at drawing backgrounds and locations. I'm good at drawing characters, but you don't have to put a lot of detail in. You can just draw a line for the ground, and some squares, something that looks sort of like a bed. And this, I just drew it in outlines, just silhouettes. Aslan, that's pretty good. Oh, an unexpected car. Sorry, Kai, I just saw your note. So these can all be silhouettes and stuff like that. And if you're doing digital work, you can just get photos and cut them out. Photo of a forest, cut it out. Photo of a castle, cut it out, stick it in. All that could just be photo stuff. And then when you get to the characters, you could draw the characters. Hussein, have you got a question? Give my voice a break.
Can I just Mom, my story, can I just I'm doing it on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drawing it with my Apple Pencil.
Yeah. What program are you using?
Can I show it?
Yeah, show it. What program are you doing on your Apple, on your iPad?
I don't have Procreate, so I'm just using Notes for now.
Okay, I have Procreate. It's pretty good. I like it. I think it is a bit expensive though. Can't remember. Like $60 maybe.
This is my work. Can you see it?
You have to turn your background off.
Okay.
There you go.
So there's a moon, there's a house and everything.
Yeah, that's really
And
cool.
then and it's kind of backwards because
Can you do different layers with that program?
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
so do
program.
all your roughs on one layer and then do the different colors on other layers as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
And this is a close up of the hut. And then you can see a face in the window.
yeah, cool.
And then I'm gonna draw a fire alarm over here. When the guy is saying hi, he's in bed. And then he screams out fire.
Okay, cool. That's really good. Well, I was going to give you guys uh, a little job to do, and that was to create your own sort of panel. But a lot of you are doing that already. So I'm just looking at Patrick's one and trying to do two things at once. Actually, that's cool. I like that. All right, so something I might go into a bit of perspective for this one. This class is a bit more advanced, which most of you seem like, or actually all of you that I've seen, looks like you can handle it quite well. But so I'm going to push you a little bit further and talk about perspective. I know some of you have done perspective before, but this is slightly different. So within your panels, how much time we got? Oh, we've got about half an hour. Okay. Within your panel, you do want to pick a spot for your horizon. So if we do the thirds on these two, I'll show you two different ones. You could do your horizon low so that you've got a lot more space in the sky, or you could do your horizon high so the sky is very small but the ground's very big. So if we did the example of someone playing soccer, put their head in that intersection, and maybe they're running along like that, or maybe they've just kicked the ball, and then so you could do the ball flying through the air and maybe being up in that intersection, and maybe that's where their goals are back there, something like that. So that's showing a lot of stuff happening up in the sky because this is all ground. But if we did that same picture, sorry, I'll zoom in a bit so you can see that better. See how he's on the intersection and he's on this line. The ground's on this third and the ball's on that intersection. Stay down there. So if we did it the other way with the high, you'd still do the guy here in the same pose. He's kicking, he's running. If he's kicking the ball, you don't want to have the ball sitting there. Maybe the ball's just here. And you could do the goal sort of in this intersection. The goalie. Like that. So you're still hitting those points, those 4 points. You're hitting that line for the perspective. And then this is all ground. So this way we're focusing on him kicking the ball and getting it set up. And this one we're focusing on the ball in the air. So there's two different ways of doing a similar picture, similar panel, but just changing the horizon line from a low angle to a high angle. Actually, that'd be a high angle and that's a low angle, but that's cameras, that's different. But something you also want to do, which is hard to work on and hard to pick up, is make this feel like there's depth to it. So not just a flat area. For example, you don't want to have, here's your ground, here's a tree and a house, and here's a cloud. Everything's on the same level, on the same plane. It's all just here. There's nothing, no depth to it. So in this one, let's divide it up a bit, like that. Maybe we want the tree to be really close. So maybe you don't even see the bottom of the tree. Maybe it's not on that third at all. It's just framing. So you can do sort of this. The tree is cut off that whole section. It's all in the foreground. It's really close. It's like we're even peeking around the tree to look at the house. We could do the house. My dog. We could do the house sort of here in this location. The door and the windows, whatever. So see how it's back from the tree? There's a gap between it. We don't have to draw the side. It could still be flat like it was in this picture. But you could do the horizon, instead of doing it there, you could do it up here. Maybe there's some mountains to make them like even look smaller behind the house. Like that. So now there's all this land and all this depth happening. And then the clouds, instead of the clouds just sitting there next to it, you could have the clouds sort of be in perspective as well. So maybe they're sort of trailing off into the distance and getting thicker at the top and trailing down to nothing, getting thicker, like that kind of thing. So it's giving you your picture's depth. It takes a while to pick that up. I don't expect any of you to be able to do stuff like that. But if you've done perspective with me in the past, where we've done, actually, I'm not sure if we're doing it this term, where you find your horizon line and you do a point, and then all your lines come from that kind of thing. So if you're going to draw something as big as the panel, you'd follow that down. So then it's this big, this far away, and it's this big, this far away. It gets smaller and smaller. That's perspective. So you want to have that feeling within the ground. So it's getting smaller and smaller as I get closer to perspective, and also in the sky. So it feels like things are traveling away, further away like that. Or in the opposite way, coming towards you like that. Scarlett, yeah, draw your own stuff. I'm just giving you examples of things. Kai, what is he going to do with that lever? Okay. Ooh, so why don't you guys come up with a little idea before I lose my voice completely? Come up with a little idea. Some of you already have, Kai has, Hussein has, and plan out a little thumbnail. Or think of an idea and think of some panels you want to show, and then or some shots you want to show, whether it's someone kicking a ball or zooming in on a house or something like that, and think about how you could lay out your page and how many panels you might need. You might only have one, you might have three, you might have six. You could have a combination. You could have one big one and then four little ones, you know, something like that. So think of something you could do, a little story. It can be simple, like a guy walking along slipping on a banana peel, something like that, or a dog getting lost, you know. Just simple, doesn't have to be full in-depth, have major story. Plan out a little thumbnail and then work on each panel like that. What I usually do after I've got my thumbnail, so I'm just trying to move that back so I can show you a whole page. I will get a full page like this. This is my full A4 page. And I will, usually I'll use a ruler and draw a border all the way around like this. So like that, I've got a border all the way around, and then I will draw in my panel. So there's my starting panel. Then I might have, so there's my panel 1, and then there's a gap, and then I'll have maybe this is going to be 3 panels split. So I'll do 1 panel there, 1 panel there, and a gap underneath. And if this is all ruled up properly, it will look nicer. And then down the bottom, maybe this is 2 panels, like that. And then I'll start drawing in each one, sort of like Hussein was doing on his iPad, very similar. And while you're doing that, I'll get up see if I can find, if it's backed up on this computer. Actually, I don't think it is. Oh, no. Some of the comic that I was doing before. Years ago, I did a comic. Actually, I think I've got one on the shelf. I'm just going to run off to my comic shelf, and I'll get a comic and I'll show you what I was doing, because yeah, it's, well, is it? No, it's not here. It's not on this one. It's not on this computer. All right, I'll see if I can find my comic and I'll show you. Riley, what's happening there? I can't tell what's happening in that first one. There's a guy. What's the thing next to the guy? Oh, it's another guy. Oh, that's the soccer one. It's like, oh, and then go. That's cool. That's cool. Audrey, oh my God, Audrey, what's happening in yours? Is that the number 48? Oh, they called 48, like, yay, you got picked. And then what do you get picked? Oh, he's doing like a song thing. What do they call it? I can't think, like a pop idol kind of thing. Or is it another Japanese manga reference? Oh, I figured out what your one was the other day with the girl with the thing in the mouth. Is it Demon Slayer or something like that? Yeah, yeah. There you go. I knew it. I just couldn't pick it. I'm gonna run away for 1 minute. Let's find this comic for you guys. Okay, I couldn't find the one I wanted to show you, but I did do a comic for a friend of mine. So this is, it's called Femme Superb. So there's a character called Marnie, who is a half human, half robot, and she was cloned, and they made a superhero out of her. And this is his comic, but I drew it all. So yeah, here's my newbie at the bottom there. His name Nick Johnson, Evan Newbie. So these are the characters. This is Harvey. That's the main character of the old comic, but this is a spin-off. So it's about Harvey and his girlfriend Marnie, and Marnie's clone Femme Superb. And so here's sort of layout shot. It's the newspaper, there's cars in the city, and then we have a over-the-shoulder shot of the editor of the newspaper with the photographer coming in, and then the photographer. It's realized there's no There's no dialogue on this page. And then the editor, he's an editor robot. He's part of the desk. He can't leave the desk. And so he's looking at all these photos of Femme Superb. And then a nice little circular panel, a little newspaper robot, and Femme Superb's reading the newspaper. She hears a noise and turns around, and we see that it's sort of the opposite of this one, the location one, because then she's in her house and she looks through the blinds, and we see that her house is a caravan, and there's all these news people around. They've come because they know where she lives now. And then she's worried and she runs off and she pulls up a rug and there's a trap door underneath and she hides and runs away on the trap door. And then we cut to another establishing shot. It's Harvey's apartment, or Marnie's apartment, I should say. And so they see Marnie on the computer, a picture of Harvey, and then someone sneaks in her window and grabs her. That's an ad for the comic I wanted to show you. These are my characters here. That's Squiddy Wizard. Let's show you down here. He's a Squiddy Wizard and Holy Moly. And that's Pickles. Pickled Pooch. It's called Ye Old Wanglers. Anyway, back to the story. Marnie's at a new place, the home of Dr. Xanadu, knocks on the door, he comes out, and then they're inside talking. So it's very simple. That's only 4 panels. You can see how I've laid it out. I know there's something coming up that I can't show you in here. It's a bit of adult content. So I have to be careful what I'm showing you. So it's just them talking in the library, phone ringing, picks up the phone, and then at the end, she flies away. And then, yeah, photos, click, click, click. And then you see that it's the photographer taking photos, and then he gets captured. And then all the mob at Femme Superb's house again, they're all angry mob, come to get her. And she flies home and see that they've destroyed her place. And she goes inside and she's shocked, and that's where I can't show you what happened. And then she's all very sad. Yeah, I can't show you that because it has a death in there, so it's not quite suitable. There's another ad. And then you see that Marnie has now been captured by, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Something Hat dude. Where is it? El Senor Cranky Hat is his name. So he's got captured Marnie because he thinks she's Femme Superb, and he's electrocuting her. And that's it, because it's continued into our next one. That's what the characters normally look like. But I drew them like that. So that's a comic. It wasn't a comic that was sold everywhere. It was just made by my friend. So he sold it at conventions and things like that. And I did the same too. But, you know, it's a proper comic. It's a proper book. I think he sells them for like $5 or $10, something like that. Yeah. So there you go. That's something I've done. Comic that I've worked on. So how is everyone going with their story ideas? Anyone got anything to show me? Even if it's not finished, it doesn't have to be finished. All right, Kai. So he's got the lever because there's a car coming, and he pulls the lever. Pull the lever, Kronk. And what's happening there? Is he jetpacking off? I don't know what's happening in that last one. Hang on, let me unmute you. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, it was half finished, him like an action shot, like jumping over the edge to investigate, basically.
Oh, okay. He's just gonna jump down, land in front of the car and make it stop.
Like not land, like inspect, like my story. Do you want to spoil it, or do you just want to wait?
I don't know. Don't spoil it. I wanna be surprised.
Okay.
Let's see, what's the video doing?
Just mute myself again.
Thank you. Yelling and then get out of bed. Okay, what's the very last one video? I can't see the last panel on that one. Do you want to hold it up again? Show me the very last panel. Oh, something out the window, someone flying out the window? Wow, okay. That's cool. All right, let me show, can you hold that a bit closer? There we go. Fighting at the castle, and is the last one, is that drips of blood on the ground? I can't tell what that is. I don't know what that is. Hang on, do you want to tell me if you want to unmute and tell me what's happening in that one?
That's the dungeon. There's no blood. They
Ah.
made it look like that so people would get scared and never attack the castle again.
Oh, okay. So was that just like dripping water?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why I said blood. Because I'm gross, I guess. I always draw blood and things. Like Kai always draws really weird things. Weird creatures. Scary monsters. All right, how long have we got left? We've got about 10 minutes left. So, trying to think, what else can I show you? So we've got some, I'll just go over some of the things we've talked about. So we've got the rule of thirds, where you draw 2 lines vertical, 2 lines horizontal, 2 lines vertical, and split the panel, no matter what shape it is. Even if it was a circle, you could still do the same thing. Divide it into thirds and still have the placements for things. So you want to divide up into thirds, use the rule of thirds, and wherever these lines cross through the image, or wherever these 4 intersections are, they're your points of interest. So use those to place your objects and things within your artwork. Use light and dark areas to draw the eye to where you want the reader to look. So if this was the first panel, people are we read left to right normally. So they're going to be looking here, they might read a few things, and then the eye will come across to this arrow, like the little tag or tail on the speech bubble. It works like an arrow, like these lines do, leading the eye over to the white circle against the black silhouetted castle. Again, we've got light and dark areas there. And in this panel, we've got action lines or expression lines pointing towards the mouth yelling. And that could be a lighter area as well. Like this could be darker here and have a gradient, so it gets lighter towards the head, and then have shadow also around the mouth. So that's a light area, so the eye will be attracted to this light area. Then our last panel, again, you could make a lot of the area around the bed darker. It doesn't have to be black, but just darker colors, darker shades, and then have a light area around the person sitting in the bed if you want that to be the focus. Could even have a lighter area around the person talking. The person could even be holding a lamp or a candle or something. So the candle is casting light onto their face. And that's going to light up both their faces. So there'll be a bit of contrast there in the dark and the light. And then also think about your storyboard panels. Where is that page? There it is. Think about the panels and which is the best way to lay out your story. The best thing to do is to have your story written out and you know exactly what's going to happen, so that you can work your pages. Like if you want to have a big action shot, like in Kai's story where someone's jumping off the balcony, you might want to have it so that the page before all the stuff's happening, and then maybe in this panel the guy's looking, sorry, let's blunt pencil and I can't write with that. And none of my pieces seem to be working. Oh, there we go. And then the one before, or the one after that, have him maybe even grabbing the banister, and then on the next page, you could do a full panel of him jumping off the balcony, kind of thing, with gun in hand or whatever he's doing. Full action shot, just one page is one drawing, like that. Or a fight scene or something like that could be one panel. Or even if you're introducing someone, it could be who is this strange person, and then all of a sudden the door swings open. Or this one, it could be the door's creaking open, and then this one, there's just a person standing there. Or it could even be just one long panel like that. This person standing here in the doorway, light streaming through in one whole panel. So you want to take note when you're watching movies and TV shows as well, and look at how they frame things. Especially like I was talking about when they're having conversations. How do they frame things when people are talking back and forth like this or like that? And well, there's another little thing actually, is in when you've got a bunch of people in one image, you want to have triangles because they're sort of nice, simple shapes. So if you had a group of people, you might have someone, leaning in up here, like think of like Scooby-Doo or something, and have like Scooby all crouched down like that, and then maybe two other people over here, and then you've got sort of a nice triangle working in there. Well, they don't have to be as small like that. They could be big, and it could be someone like fighting a big bad guy. Have a big ogre kind of thing here. And then the little guy down here, maybe with his sword out, like that. And then you've got the points of this guy's face, the end of the sword, and the ogre's face like that. Because you could draw some little glints on the sword and the face, because you'll be focused on the face, because that's something you're focused on. Maybe he's got one big eye, and then the glint on the sword, that kind of thing. Also, the way that's set up, it's almost a yin and yang, like a balance thing, sort of this shape. So everything's there because you got the little hero and the big bad guy, and nothing in there. So it can feel overbalanced, like very heavy, which sometimes you might want because you want it to look like, oh, that's good, Riley. That's a good good use of that diagonal cut. You want it to look like that this hero is being overpowered by the bad guy. So you make the bad guy bigger and you overbalance the panel by making it heavier on that side. The way you can do, I'll show you an example of that heavier thing. If I draw an identical panel, and just say I draw a hill with a tree, and then a person sitting under the tree, and that's all in silhouette. So that's all black. That is very overbalanced. So if you imagine a seesaw, it's as if there's only one person sitting on the seesaw, or the weight's all on one end, like that. If we moved that whole tree and area into the third, so the third that's here, so we draw that hill again with the tree. So same picture, just moving it over slightly. The person sitting there. Like that. it's not quite as unbalanced now. So what we've done on the seesaw is we've moved the weight from the end closer to the middle. So it's a bit more balanced. Because we've got white space here and white space here, instead of just white space here and black space there. So by moving the image into the third there, because there are the thirds, there and there and there and there, moving that silhouetted image across just a little bit, it helps balance out that picture. So these are pretty, this is stuff I used to teach in college, you know, for kids that are 18 and older. So I think you guys can pick it up pretty well. Yeah, so that's an important bit to have. How are we going for time? Oh, we are out of time. We are on the end of time. Audrey, what are you drawing here? Audrey, why don't you talk us through it? Unmute and tell us what you've done there. Are they the three people that were in singing before?
So you know the little like.
Yeah, it had the number 48. Yeah. So what was the number?
It's not a number. It's somebody holding a microphone.
Oh, it looked like the number 48.
Like the at the bottom just like so if you listen.
Oh, I see the microphone now. I see it's a stick figure arm holding a microphone. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so what was the second panel?
One of them still in the floor and the other one. The other one just doesn't want to. And then this.
And then the last one is the three
I
people.
drew that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. Good job. Oh, what's going on with Jensen? A lot of catching balls, I think is what's happening there. Yeah, Aslan, what's going on there? I am Iron Man. No, I am what? I can't read that. It's too small on my screen.
It's Sayan.
Okay.
Sayan.
Because I've got everyone's screen on my screen. Everyone's screen is tiny.
You look at main screen, I spotlight for each of them. And you can
I'll see,
spotlight.
I have it on gallery, so I don't see that.
Oh, you're putting
I could have it
gallery
on speaker. There we go. Now I can see it. I have it on gallery so I can see everyone.
now. Oh, yeah, yeah.
But we are out of time. I think I gave you a lot of information today, a lot of information that was for advanced drawers and advanced even, because a lot of this stuff we do with the rule of thirds is for cinematography that I used to teach, so making movies and stuff. And if you guys can pick it up now and get a better understanding of it, then it's just going to be better for you if you try and move into doing storyboards and TV and comics and stuff like that in the future. So yeah, everyone seemed to be doing really well. I'm quite impressed with everyone. So well done.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to unmute everyone to say goodbye to Mr. Owen. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.